Please. Once again, everybody, welcome to the Cash Flow Empire every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. And I'm super excited because you guys know that we love bringing people who are able to bring value to the community. And I think today, you guys are going to have a lot of fun, especially all the women in the house. All the women in the house, you're going to have a lot of fun. Migena, she's so awesome. She's very, very woman empowering. And obviously, we're here to bring a lot of value to everybody, also men, right, Migena? So that being said, Migena, once again, welcome to the Cash Flow Empire. We've been trying to coordinate this call for a while. It couldn't happen. I think we scheduled you a while back, but I think it interfered with your schedule. But we're glad to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Yes, we've been trying to get on this call since April when we launched volume 2 of Powerful Female Immigrants, which is when I met you for the first time, Sergio.
Yes.
You and Jonathan in Dallas, of course. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be trusted with your friends who are also my friends. So yeah, it's like what's mine, it's ours. So in this situation, the quote can be truer. So yeah, super excited to answer questions and bring value to all of us, myself included, because I know that as I speak, I will also say things I've never said before. And that's what I look forward the most, to get to know myself better in every opportunity I get to speak. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. No, thank you. I mean, it's a lot to, kind of get these podcasts going. It's not easy at all. It's kind of coordinating. It's making sure that, I have my little sidekick Yoshi in the house, it's a lot. It's not easy. So thank you once again for just taking the time out of your day, just to kind of get started. We do have a lot of new faces in the room. I'm sure everybody's seen you one way or another, whether it's social media, whether it's for the amazing events that we're going to talk about later, or whether it's from, other, events, because you're everywhere. So just a quick brief, like, where are you from? Who are you? And how did you just kind of come about into getting into this industry of real estate?
I love it. I love that question very much. When I was offered the amazing opportunity to be a co-author in the first book of Powerful Female Immigrants, being that I wasn't an author at the time, but a storyteller, I was in a dilemma. What do I title my chapter? Because it's like a book, and it's a book within a book. So my chapter is its own book within the book. And of course, nothing makes me happier than when people ask me, "Hey, where are you from?" And it's so sparkly, it's magical, because I'm like, thank you for giving me permission so I can now start sharing my story. So that's the title of my first book, Where Are You From? So born and raised in Albania, in a small country in the Mediterranean, for anyone who doesn't know. I don't blame you. We were isolated for 50 years because we were a communist country. So you can Google it afterwards. It's gorgeous there. Moved to New York City. So from Albania, from a very small town of about 300 families. I counted the building one time, and there were about 12 buildings in the entire town. Think about that, guys. 12 buildings of like 4-story buildings. People from all over Albania moved into this town, in these buildings they all built, got to know each other, got married, and ended up buying all the apartments where they lived. So think about how the real estate journey started for me before I was even born. It was a piece of land converted into this little town. And fast forward, I traveled to New York City, to the Bronx to be exact. Of course, I had no legal status at the time. We are here on a political asylum. I couldn't speak English. Because Albania is bordered with Italy through the Mediterranean, we watched a lot of TV in Italian growing up. So I moved to America speaking Albanian and Italian. And as I started to work as a hostess in a diner, I became friends with all of the back of the house, the cooks, and 80% of them were from Mexico. So I understood everything they said to me because of the Italian, even though they were speaking Spanish. So talk about surviving in this country. So I ended up learning Spanish before I learned English, still having no legal status. And then, of course, fast forward, I worked as a cashier, I worked as a waitress, I'm not kidding, I worked over 100 hours a week, Monday through Sunday, picked up all the shifts possible for at least 3 years in a row with no days off. We had over $60,000 in debt coming in this country as immigrants. We had nobody. When my dad moved here a few years later, he was making only $60 a day in construction. So I always saved the food from the restaurant so he could take it the next day to work, because like literally we were having cereal for years. I wore my mom's shoes at work. I wore some rich lady's white shirt, you know, just to make sure that the debt was paid before we could actually start living, right? Because you're not free until you're really free of debt. It's not about getting that status, like legal status. It's actually a total different freedom. Anyways, so working 3 jobs, from a bakery in the Bronx to White Plains as a hostess, to going to college to learn English, you know, the typical immigrant story. I started college when I was 24. I couldn't pass the English test. The way we write essays in Europe, it's very different than in America, of course. I was actually excited. I kept failing because I kept learning more. I was like, yeah, I keep failing. I love failing. Like, for some reason, I was like, oh, this is strange. Why do I love failing? And also it gave me the opportunity to meet more people. I'm like, talk about freaking networking, like failing the test for 2 years. I'm like, God, am I ever going to pass this EESA essay, whatever it was called? I wanted to become a lawyer. I go to my first English class and the professor says, your grammar is not so good. You may want to reconsider. So there goes that dream. I was like, you know what? I'll study economics, whatever. And they're like, oh, okay. No, that's an interesting choice. So in 3 years, I graduate with economics degree, history, Italian, 5 languages later. Now I'm like, let me take some French because I'm bored, right? Going to school Monday through Sunday, having a full-time job, waiting tables in a high-end restaurant in the city, and feeling so incomplete. I'm like, been there, done that, worked hundreds of hours, paid all the debts, support my family. My brother is still back home. My parents couldn't get good jobs. I'm like, okay, I need to get a real job. Economic crash happens. I can't get a job in the financial industry. I ended up working as a temporary human resources recruiter for a real estate company who was actually hiring the staff to provide labor in all the Class A commercial buildings. I had no idea what HR meant. I knew human resources, but I didn't know HR. It was the same thing, obviously. Just to give you an idea how lost I was, because I was disappointed. Because when you're disappointed, you are so powerful that you can block your own mind. And you're like, you refuse to even know what that is because you're just angry that you have 3 degrees and you graduated with like a 3.7 in 3 years while keeping a full-time job, waiting tables, like no seconds off. Talk about days off. I never had a day off until a few years ago. No personal life, just working. And one day I was like, wait a second, I don't even remember what I looked like. No time to look in the mirror. Like, who am I? What's going on over here? And of course, my mother, who is my #1 fan, my biggest supporter, the most amazing woman in the world, she kept reminding me, hey, what are you doing? Did you apply here? Did you apply there? I would go to all these interviews. I have an accent. For any ladies out there who think that we are at an advantage, we're not. When you add accent to it, that's worse. In New York City, they're like, oh, but you don't have experience. And I'm like, but if you don't give me the opportunity, where am I going to get the experience from? Like, you don't even know how cool I am. It didn't matter that I worked the land in Albania, that I had a vineyard, that I cooked and washed clothes by hand, that I made my own bread. It didn't matter. I'm like, all right, but I have these degrees and I can do this and I can work 55,000 hours a minute. Nope, you don't have experience. So I end up as a human resources recruiter, temporary for the summer. And I'm like, I can't quit my restaurant job. I don't trust these people. This is temporary. They're going to let me go. And sure enough, they did let me go. But while I was working, I was wearing a suit every morning, pants and blazer all the time, heels, hair up. For all of you who've seen me in heels, I love heels. Even though I would stand like 15 hours at the restaurant at night, that didn't change the fact that in the morning, I was a different Migena. The night had nothing to do with the day. So I took on these two different personalities into one. But of course, I kept my core intact, which was the most important for me. So wearing makeup, hair up, and little by little, all the ladies in the office start wearing makeup. And these are true stories. You can call them. Like, I'll see them putting mascara. I'm like, what's going on? Well, because you dress a certain way, like they felt threatened. And then they felt inspired as they got to know me better. I ended up hiring about 1,000 people that summer. People would come from God knows where and say, hey, I'm Migena's cousin. I'm Migena's neighbor. I have no cousins in America, period. It's just my parents. My brother is still back home. We're freaking out that he's not here yet. So I'll be like, yeah, sure. I hired husbands and wives and kids at the same time, like to the point where they're like, you can't hire anymore because we are over hired. I was like, okay, that exists. At the end of the 9 months of me working there, they said, hey, it's a Wednesday, Friday is your last day. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you for the opportunity. That was me, right? And everybody else goes, wait, they didn't give you 2 weeks notice? Like they just let you go like in a day notice? But I don't know the rules. I don't care for the rules. I'm like, I rely on myself. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I go back to the restaurant. 2 weeks later, they call me on a Wednesday. Hey, this is so-and-so from HR. I was wondering, would you like to come back? I'm like, come back for what? You know, the season is over. They're like, well, now that the season is over, every single department is going on vacation in the winter. So we're now in November. So maybe you can come back. We don't guarantee you a permanent job. Now, second time, same company, they don't guarantee me a full time, but they want me to continue to replace them. I'm like, oh, bingo, opportunity. Now I'm going to go and learn every single role for every single department, and I'm going to get paid $16 an hour. Are you kidding me? Meanwhile, I'm making 6 figures at night, but I didn't care for that. I cared for the $16 an hour, which was amazing, right? With 3 degrees, like extremely overqualified, but it didn't matter. I didn't care. I wanted that on my resume. I said, I'm going to learn. I said, sure, I'll do it again. No problem. You don't have to make me permanent. Can you start Monday? I'm like, no, I'll start tomorrow. Wait, tomorrow is Thursday. I said, yeah, I work in the restaurant at night. I don't do anything in the morning. I sleep. So better than sleeping, come to work. I'm thinking 8 hours times $16 times 2 days. I'm like, I am not letting this thing go. This is like a month's worth of food for Albania. I'm like, no, please, I'll be there. I show up a second time on a Thursday on a temporary job for a second time. And of course, by Monday, the operations team says, oh, Migena is back. We're going to make her a supervisor. I'm like, wait, I'm going to have employees. I went from working in the restaurant business to having all these dreams to be in the financial world, in the capital of the world, in the financial capital of the world, to ending up being a nighttime project manager for 3 locations, the worst buildings the company had. And they were keeping those because they didn't want to lose the portfolio. So they're like, let's put Migena there. She doesn't know, she won't care. And she actually is desperate. She won't say no to us because guess what? She said yes to us twice on a temporary job. She had 0 demands. So I show up, I'm now a project manager / supervisor, managing 20 staff people, union labor. And every morning now I'm wearing a uniform, serving tables, because I don't trust these guys. They gave me that opportunity, but at this point, I don't even trust myself. I don't trust that I could be a project manager. I don't even know what that is. Me having employees responsibility. I said, you know what? I'm now making $25 an hour. Half of it goes into taxes. I'm single, no children. For the next year, I end up working as a waitress every morning, as a captain, which is a little bit different, every morning, and wearing a suit every night. Turn that building around in like $500,000 in positive. I sold every single inch of that building, from shampooing to this to that. So pretty much, as I was sharing earlier, you guys, every opportunity is presented to the table, or every opportunity we create for ourselves, we are the one that wins the most, because it's a chance for us to get to know ourselves better. And I did not know that I was that person, that I could do the sales and the operations and the client retention and the business development all at once and have 100% retention. So that's really like my first real estate experience. And of course, I was a project manager for Goldman Sachs headquarters for 2.5 years, over 150 employees, with 1 year of being a supervisor at this building that I told you guys. And then from there, because they couldn't put me in the daytime, and I'm in this country 12 years, having worked nights all my life, getting home at 3 a.m. on a subway with my employees who are still my friends, and they're still asking if I'm ever going to go back to work there, which is insane. Like so much love. I'm surrounded by so much love. To working as a project manager for Hearst Corporation, another billion-dollar company, to being an area director a year later, where not having one building, but having over 20 buildings, 20 million square foot of space, from the Federal Reserve, BlackRock, Blackstone, like they were all my clients. So very proud to say that I've always had 100% retention, never lost an account while I was working for the company, either international companies or local companies or national companies. And then I worked for another billion-dollar company as a director of business development. And I thought, wow, this is great. I made it. It's 18 years now in this country. I finally could afford to wear a nice suit and be okay with it. And then, of course, COVID hits. And then this guy, Grant Cardone, ruins it for me. I mean, seriously. I mean, ask another question, Sergio. I'm going to leave it at that.
I first of all, congratulations. I think, it's amazing. I love what you're doing. The only difference is that you're not Mexican, but I hear a lot of these success stories, and I love it. I mean, I can relate to you a lot. So first of all, congratulations on you and all your success. Congratulations to you and all your success. And I think, I never got to hear this. Like I said, we go to these events and, it's hard to talk. Sometimes we can't get personal. We can't get intimate. So I'm glad that you're able to come tonight on this platform and just tell us your story. And I get to relate to you. I get to actually connect with you even more. So thank you for that. And you said
and something... I got fired from the job in the Bronx at the bakery, where I was making $100 in 3 days, because God forbid I'm going to chill for 6 hours when I was going to school. I'm like, I got to find something local. So I go and sell bread at the bakery store. And the owners were Albanians, by the way. So I don't want you guys to wonder who they were from. So Albanians fire Albanians. Facts. We love each other, but
it'll be your own people.
It's okay. I love them even more, because as God says, they don't know better. So love them more. And I'm not religious, but I believe in God. So I get fired because someone had told the owners that I feed the homeless the bread that I was directed to throw in the garbage, because we're not going to sell it the next day. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's like $3 times I'm doing the math. I'm like, I worked for $7 an hour. This is disgraceful. So I'll give to the homeless, to my neighbors. Like I was walking home like a homeless with like 50 bags, and I would just spread the bread. And one day they're like, you can't work here anymore. I'm like, why not? Well, because we saw you giving bread to the homeless. I said, so you'd rather me throw it in the garbage? Okay, you know what? Fire me right now, because I would do it all over again. So I've been fired before.
That was my next question, because you mentioned something earlier.
Go for it.
You said when they fired you, because here's the thing. I'm a Mexican American. I'm a first generation American, correct, here in this country. I'm out of Texas. I know the American culture, obviously, because I'm a Mexican American. And what happened to you would have never happened to the American. So I wanna, if you can elaborate more, because somebody fires me on a Wednesday and says, hey, Friday's your last day. And then you want to call me back a couple weeks later to say, hey, you want to come back? I'm going to say, fuck off. Like, in all reality, like, dude,
I didn't know how to curse at the time, so they were at an advantage.
Well, I would have told them, you know what, I'm thankful for the opportunity, but I'm fine, because I would have probably felt some type of way. But in this case, and I think most of us would, if we would all admit, right? But you in this in this case, we're like, you know what, this is another opportunity. Let me go back and let me go. How did you separate that mindset? Because I think anybody else would have been like, you know what, screw this, I'm done. No, I'm not going back. You done fired me for no reason. Now you want me back and you're not going to hire me full time? Like, yeah, absolutely not.
Well, Sergio, when I started the story, I did mention that that was a temporary job. So I was expected, like I started with the end. I knew there was a limit to my time in that company. There was a 1% hope, a Migena hope that maybe because I'm going above and beyond, maybe because I'm not eating my half an hour lunch, I'm actually saving that half an hour so I could use it to get on a subway from the west side all the way to the east side to make it before 5 p.m. at the restaurant, because if I don't, they'll send me home and I lose more. And I'm thinking maybe they'll see this. Maybe they'll see that if they needed 10 utilities, I got them 20. And if they needed diversity, I got them the Polish and the Spanish and the Chinese and the Albanian. Let's have them all, because different buildings have different needs and different cultures, because that's who I am. I'm a business matchmaker. I'm a people matchmaker. I'm a culture matchmaker. So I knew that they owed me nothing, absolutely nothing. I owed it to myself to show up and be the best that I could be, to the point where people thought that I owned the company, because that company in specific had a lot of Albanians that worked there. And everyone thought that I was someone's niece, someone's girlfriend, someone's wife. Probably some people thought that I was there to collect information, to run it to the decision makers. Meanwhile, my head is spinning. I'm like, I need to get out of this waiting tables long term, because I'm not honoring my parents and my ancestors and my brother. I'm not making anyone proud, because it's okay to work 55,000 jobs. It's okay to make $2 an hour. It's okay to go to work hungry and live on Diet Coke, or go to college and just eat chocolates for years and have that Metro card, and maybe, you know what, let me walk 15 minutes so I can save $2 so I can use it for the weekend. And like, that's my math. So they owed me like absolutely nothing. And then when they called me a second time, I'm thinking, thank you, God, because now I'm going to learn a little bit more. And I'm thinking resume building. So when I take that paper to that next guy and he sees it, he'll say, oh, okay, so she now has a year doing something. And versus, oh, you didn't believe me in the first time? I'm out. No, I was not in a position to be out. Even today, if someone hires me and they let me go 5 months later, but then a month later they decide to rehire me, I promise you I'm going to take the job, because there's nothing more beautiful than when you are let go from an organization and they call you back a second time because they realized they let go of an asset. And then, of course, they backed it up by giving me the opportunity, by making me a supervisor, by trusting me with their clients that they worked hard for decades to build. So to me, it was an honor. And again, maybe I don't want to say that it was my fault that they didn't hire me a second time, but like, who knows? Maybe that's how God wanted it to be, so I could share this story today for someone out there who is allowing their attitude to take over. And then you forget that, wait a second, you still have bills to pay. And if you don't say no, I mean, yes, to this company, and you're going to end up being in the restaurant, then you're going to do another job. At least here you have, again, another 1% chance that you may have a permanent job, which is true. So when your whys are very strong, Sergio, you leave ego on the side, you leave pride on the side, because at the end of the day, the battle is not between you and them. The battle is between you and you. And you're not going to allow someone else to dictate your future. You're not going to allow that. And I never, ever, like, I remember myself before I even started school in Albania. Like, I grew up as a tomboy. I grew up with, like, my dad is one of 10, so 6 uncles, all these cousins. I was like the first girl on this side of the town from our cousins. And I was always surrounded by so much strength. And I had strong women in the family. So when I saw those people that were hiring me and rehiring me and letting me go, I was just like, you're just not ready for me. But you're going to be ready for me. And then I'll show up a second time with an even bigger smile and with more gratitude because they came back to their senses and they're like, maybe we made a mistake. So what am I going to say? Oh, you made a mistake, I'm out? No, you made a mistake and I forgive you because I need this. I didn't want that job. I needed the job. So when you need something, you freaking better show up. And when you want something, then you can write books. So that's why I did what I did, and I'll do it again. Like if Cecilia hires me and she says, you know what, she doesn't sound very Mexican, I'm gonna fire her. Then God, she sounds so Mexican, I'm gonna hire her again. Be like, you see, you realize that, right? You just needed some time to reflect. It's okay, because guess what? I am a human being with so many imperfections, and I could be in a situation where I made the wrong decision for somebody, let them go and realize afterwards, and I want them badly because I really, really realized that I actually made a very bad decision. I want that person to come back to me. And because I wanted that for me, I had to give it to them, right? Cecilia is nodding, so she agrees. So we're good. We can move on now.
Absolutely. Hot stuff. Great stuff there.
Hey, Migena, it's great to have you here with us today. I have read your book. I freaking love it. So thank you. Thank you. If you guys have not read her book, you guys have to go read it. It's about real women in real estate.
Which one?
The first one. I freaking love it. So if for all my ladies here, if you guys have not purchased it, I'm actually going to go ahead and drop the link because you guys have to read it. It's freaking amazing. But from your story, I had actually had some type of a background from your book of what you used to work at. So from waitress to cashier, how did you become a successful CEO at 10X certified business coach to multifamily? How did you do it? How did you get in all the rooms with all these people?
Yes, I love that question very much. So, for all the immigrants out there, we're even the Americans agree with us, and actually they're the ones who say to me, I didn't come up with this. We are at an advantage in many levels when it comes to mindset, because for us, failure is not an option, because we have to work 10 times harder to gain that legal status, to prove to the world that we actually understand the culture, that I can get along with these people, that I am a team player. So we work hard. And what that does, that's magical. And what that does is that sharpens us, right? It makes us better human beings and more humble. And I did all these jobs, never felt a victim. I did feel very disappointed at times. And when COVID hit, I ended up on a social app called Clubhouse. For anyone who doesn't know, it's an international social app where you connect with people in real time through a voice and a picture and, of course, a bio. And you need to have a social media attached to it to be verified, so everyone knows who's who. Before that, I had no Facebook. I only had LinkedIn, anti-social apps, media, all of that, but all about in-person events. And when I joined this Clubhouse app, I started to get to know people from all over the world. And people were talking a different lingo there, a language that I didn't understand. They were talking cash flow, passive cash flow, exits, multiple exits, 10 different streams of income. And mind you, I have an economics degree, but then I'm in this real estate industry for over a decade. And it's like, you kind of leave everything here, and here it's like, okay, let me manage some buildings and let me volunteer and raise money for St. Jude's and volunteer in everything that it's involved in Manhattan. So as people started to talk about how many business they have while they're having their W-2s, and then this guy, Grant Cardone, ruins it for me. He shows up in rooms would grow up to like thousands. I'm like, who is this guy? And every time Grant would speak, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know any of that. I'm like, what is this? Wait, people can invest in real estate? Wait, you can actually have a business while you have a W-2? but then you got to do, I'm like, okay, I'm confused. So year one goes by. I'm still on Clubhouse while I'm having this job, working remotely. Grant started to promote his real estate summit December 2021. I said, you know what, I'm going to go, but I don't have a ticket. Long story short, I reached out to Grant on a private message on Clubhouse. I'm like, Grant, your tickets are sold out. I need to buy a ticket to go to your event. He responds like, sure, talk to Annie. She'll sell you a ticket for the sales price, $2,500. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I've paid $500 tickets, but I never paid $2,500 and another $2,500 to travel somewhere I've never been before. But now Grant responded to me. So I was left with no choices but to show up, because when the GOAT responds, what do? You just like, oh no, sorry, I'm not going now. Like, even if it means you quit your job, you freaking show up, because these opportunities don't come by every day. So I show up in Aventura by myself, still having a W-2, 6-figure job, director of business development for a national company, talking about having a business expense, entertaining my clients, taking them to golf, like learn how to golf during COVID. Like, I was like, wow. But then I was like, wait, my 20-year anniversary in this country is approaching in a couple of years. And I started to do a download. You know, when you download your computer, I was like, let me download like the Migena file. What have I done in 18 years? So when it's my 20-year anniversary, I can say, check, check, check. And I was not happy with the answers. Like, I was not happy with the answers. I was like, wow, you've been so numb. You've been living under a rock. This has to change right now. So you need to go where these guys are going, because they sound pretty successful. I show up at the real estate summit by myself. Ended up saving an entire row for all the clubhousers that Grant flew from New Jersey to Miami on his private jet. Everyone thought that I was part of the jet party, and I wasn't. So I made that very clear. And for the next 3 days, I am on that summit. And people are getting up, sharing their success stories. And there I am sitting down, feeling more and more disappointed, more and more upset at that point that I had allowed myself to go this far without making drastic changes. And I decided actually that weekend that I was going to take control. I realized that when you work for a company, they dictate if you are going to celebrate your cousin's wedding in Albania. They dictate if you're going to hug your family for a week versus 2 versus 3, because these are the rules of the company. They dictate that you get to go on vacation in January, because in the summer that's busy for us, you can't go. And there I am, realizing that I had been a prisoner at my own confirmation. Like, I literally told these people, here are the keys to my freedom. You own me. Now do whatever you want with me. And I was like, wow, what is wrong with you, Migena? Here, this woman here, she has 3 businesses. She owns thousands of units. You don't even know what a unit means. I mean, you kind of do, but what does it really mean? They're saying that they're collectively doing this, doing that. And here's this guy, Grant Cardone, phenomenal story, turned his life around, influencing others. And I thought I was an influencer, but if I wasn't happy, I couldn't make anyone happy. And I thought I did. And I did the best I could while I was in those environments. But my environment was very limited, because let's face it, New York City is a beautiful city, but it's just New York City. It's not the world. It's not the country. And I love people. And I said, this changes now. So gave my 2 weeks notice, signed up for the Grant Cardone Real Estate Club, and that was a $25,000 investment. I became an LP in 348 units a couple of weeks after the event. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew one thing for sure. And I said to a friend of mine, I said, watch me where I take life, because life is no longer going to take me. This ends now. I said, this ends now. And it's on me. And let me fail forward. And for the next 6 months, I went on this journey of rediscovery. For anyone who's read the book, The Alchemist, my story is very similar, where you go around the world in search for the treasure, only to realize that you are the treasure. Cecilia is the treasure. Yoshi is the treasure. And Sean and Jesus and Emma that is here. But you kind of have to go through the journey, because my mother tells me all the time that I'm the treasure. But of course, she's my mother. Of course, she's going to tell me that. No, I had to feel it. And then I had this friend of mine who would say, you're going to be the president one day. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, I can't even be a vice president. This guy's crazy. I'm like, Mom, David said that I'm going to be the president. My mom would be like, what president? You're going to be the CEO. I'm like, oh my God, so much pressure. What are these people talking about? I'm thinking, you need to be a CEO in a company in order for you to be a CEO. No, we are the CEOs of our own lives. But some of us don't even know that, because we are so wrapped around a 2% increase every year and a 3% bonus and a 2% commission. We're like, yay, this is great. No, it's not. I said, even if I make half the money that I used to make in the company, watch me where I take life, because I am going to be so wealthy, because I'm going to meet so many people. And the reason why I joined the real estate club is because I knew there were at least 400 phenomenal people there. And that led me to open my own consulting company called Eagles MA. And Eagles, Albania, it's the land of the eagles. There's more eagles in Albania than anywhere else in the world. And the flag, our flag, it's an eagle with 2 heads. And as I opened this LLC without even thinking, because I am a procrastinator, everybody knows that, I was like, give me a sign. What do we call this thing? And I was like, oh, my ring. That's the eagles. I'm like, let's call it Eagles. Whatever. Eagles is a beautiful bird. It's a beautiful bird with a beautiful story and longevity. So I'm like, let's keep the Albanian, which I really want, but let's not make it Albanian, because I am international. I'm not Albanian. I'm international. I belong to the world. So within a year, I was an LP. I was a GP. I wrote my first book collaboration. I had 0 income. I was discovered to be a red carpet hostess for an investment TV show. I was offered to be the associate producer of this investment TV show without holding a mic in my life. I attended my first podcast. I was interviewed by a 13-year-old boy from Algeria. His name is Mohammed. I was the guest on his show, like a 13-year-old boy. And I raised my physical hand. I raised my virtual hand. And within the same years, I invested another $25,000 in Migena to sign up for the licensing program for 10X mentorship, coaching, and business, certification. Again, for me, it's the opportunity to meet people. So when I make business decisions and personal decisions is, who am I going to meet? Meanwhile, with 0 income. So all of this I'm doing with my savings that I worked hard over the years. And the savings are going down and down. And I have the support of my family, and I'm traveling more than ever. And I tell everybody, look, I've never felt wealthier in my life, because I have friends in almost every city in America. If I drop in Dallas in the middle of the night, I can count at least 30 people that I know that can pick me up. I know Sean and his family will take me to their house. I know that for a fact. Jedediah is another one. And I have Jonathan there, and I have Sergio. And I don't remember where Cecilia lives. I think Cecilia is in California. But I made it a point that I was going to have a friend in every city, because this is how I was raised in Albania. We don't measure wealth by the bank account. We measure wealth by the heart account. So I'm always interested in the heart account, and this is how I lead. And God has a way of rewarding me. So if I can tell you that I've done it with 0 income, when I'm telling you 0 means 0, because I filed my W-2 and there was no W-2. It was just me and my savings, and taking my food with me in a bag, and taking the plane overnight after an event, so I didn't have to pay the hotel another night, picking the cheapest tickets and avoiding going to places to eat, because that meant $200 more. And to me, it was like, if I didn't give it, that meant that I made it. I'm like, no, today I made $200. How? By not spending it. Whatever it is that I got to tell Migena so I can continue to show up, because I'm not going to stop. Because if I lie to myself, that's the biggest crime one can commit. You can lie to everyone in the world, but the moment you lie to yourself, that is dangerous, because nobody knows, which means you can ruin yourself so badly, so easily. But when you lie to someone else, maybe someone will say, hey, I love you. What you did is wrong. Let's bring you back to earth. Because there are those amazing people. But when you lie to yourself, that's terrible. So I said, I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm going to keep the word to myself. There's no going back. We're going to make this work, because if that person did it and that person did it, and if I worked 3 jobs, and if I slept on a bus and cut my eyebrow, I had no idea how I cut it, but that's how tired I was. Wake up with a swollen eyebrow. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened here? And taking the bus at 5 a.m. in the Bronx, coming home at 4 a.m. with homeless sleeping on the subways. What's the worst that can happen? Me running my own company. I have a few friends that can support me, but it gets better. I'm now in year 2, owning over 800 units, being an LP and GP somewhere, being in more masterminds, investing in more relationships, being on a book 2 collaboration, and say, you know what, ladies, we need to have our own book, bringing more women together as a collective we are creating. And I can proudly say that in 1 year, I have accomplished more than I have accomplished in 19 years combined in this country. And I have receipts, and you all know that I have receipts. And all I want to do is go out there, share my story with my silliness twist. That is me, because I do believe that we are the most powerful creatures. But what is scary is that we are also our worst enemies. So when you wake up every morning, you need to remind yourself that if someone else did it, you can do it too. And if you need help, ask for help. I am the person that raises her hand and says, hey, I would love to be on your podcast. Like, I've been on maybe 30 podcasts right now. I was invited maybe to 3 of them. The other 27, I asked to be on the podcasts. And I love it. I am the person that invests to sit down on a chair to watch someone speak, someone that worked hard and deserves to get paid because he's speaking from experience. And then I have my back against 1,000 people, depending where I'm sitting in the room. And I am like, if I am investing this amount to sit down and watch one person, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to invest to stand up so I can have 1,000 people look at me. But it gets even better because social media and these platforms give us the opportunity that when we speak, you may have 1,000 physical people, but you have an entire world eventually that gets to know who you are. So now I ask you, which one is a better investment? And the answer may be different. I say both. But I don't want someone to come to me and tell me, I don't pay to speak on a stage. Unless they pay me, I'm out. Good. I go back to being fired a second time at that HR, and look where it got me. Trusted me with the global headquarters of Goldman Sachs. I would have never had that opportunity if I didn't say yes to work going to a company that owed me nothing and made it clear from the beginning this was not a permanent job. Oh, that was a long answer.
Great job.
That was great. And everybody, if I know Yoshi, if you want to post her link again with all her information, guys, check out her IG, check out her Clubhouse, and most importantly, check out her books. We have a link to her books so that you can go read her amazing story. And I know Santos has got a question in the house. So once again, if you want to ask Migena a question, don't be shy. Like, come up, ask her a question. She's been through a lot. You know, maybe sometimes we think we can't do this. In our reality, it feels like our world's colliding or collapsing on us, or, you know, we make excuses on why we're not able to take it to the next level. But whenever you hear a story like Migena's, like, that's amazing. That inspires me to go even harder. And it should to you too. So guys, come on board and let's put some fire in the chats and show her some love before we go to Santos' question. Once again, raise your hand if you want to come up and ask Migena a question yourself, whether it's about real estate, whether it's about mindset, whether it's about even how to maybe even get on her next book, guys. So, or ladies and gents.
Yes, please. I invite all of the powerful female immigrants. We have a few spots for volume 3, which is launching in October, we will be in Dallas in October for volume 3, and there's 3 spots left. And also we actually announced that we are going to run volume 2 of Real Women in Real Estate, March 2024, again, back in Dallas for that. But we are now from 21 authors. We also have 5 spots on that one, because of course we needed our first authors to say yes first before we moved on and opened it up to more people to come in our ecosystem. So it's all about collaboration, and we come away on the other side with a product. And there's nothing more magical when we actually can tell the world, not only do we connect, collaborate, but we also create a book, create an opportunity, and we are gifting our stories to the world, because our stories are not for us to keep, are for us to share with the world. And what a better investment than use a chapter, to use your voice, to let the world know who you are. And don't think from an author's perspective. Think from your story, that no one else can share it better than you. And I would have never had the opportunity to meet Cecilia and Jasmine and Brooke and so many others if it wasn't for the book collaborations, because networking events take you so far. After 3 days, we walk away and we live life, and that's the normal thing to do. But guess what? We are forever connected. No one can ever take this away from us. They could do whatever they want. That is, it's like a tattoo. It's engraved in us. So that's it's a blessing for me. And yeah, Santos, hello.
Yes, hi. Pleasure to meet you. I was just was gonna confirm the when you said the failure is part of success, and that is very true. I appreciate for those words that you sharing with us. Also, when you were saying that you are working very hard, that's when you go to the next level. And for me, I struggle with that, because if I work very hard 2 weeks, the third week is just like I slow down, and I don't want to keep pushing through the same level I've been pushing. Like today, for example, today I took it easy today, and this afternoon I was like, I'm just gonna work from home and not worry about being too concerned about productivity. And how do you overcome that time when you feel like tired, that you don't see the results that you want to get, and that's why you slow down? How do you overcome that?
I love that question so much, because I can relate to you. I have those days. I have days where I feel extremely unaccomplished, and my energy level, I know, right? Shocking, guys. Breaking news, my energy level goes down. I give myself grace, and I actually honor that feeling, because that's healthy. That's a reminder that I am still alive, that I am still human, that I am allowed to slow down for a quick second. But it's also a reminder that I am feeling that I am slowing down. And what that really is telling me get up. Because if I don't even have that feeling, I'm not going to get up. So to me, I associate that with a feeling of a headache and a pain in the body, where they say, oh, take an Advil and you'll be fine. No, you're just numbing the disease. You're not actually curing it. So how do you cure the disease? You drink a glass of water, you get up, you get active, and then you kind of forget about that headache and you move on. So I actually welcome the feeling of being like, oh my God, I'm so down. Oh wait, I'm down. All right, let's get up. This is a sign that we're slowing down. But give yourself the 5 minutes, the 2 hours, the 5 hours, maybe a full day. I have full days where all I do is watch Turkish telenovelas with my parents, and I love it. And the next day I work hard. I work double to make up for the previous day, and that's how I'm wired. But I embrace that feeling and go back and say, this is great. I'm being reminded that I'm slowing down. I need to go back up. And you pick up where you left off, and you continue to do that. And it's like repeat. And And I also recommend that you also look a little bit further into the feeling of, why am I being disappointed that I'm not seeing the results? And go back to a time where it took you a lot longer to get a result. Me, I go back to the time where it took me 12 years to get a real job of coming in this country. And that taught me a lot of patience. So if it's taken me 2 weeks to get a result, if it's taken me 3 weeks to create that landing page for my mentorship program, and maybe another 3 months to launch it, it's okay. But it's not going to take me 12 years anymore. I am going big, faster because of the community. So whatever it is that is slowing you down, ask yourself if it's the product that you're creating that's slowing you down, or it's your lack of self-belief that is slowing you down. Because I think that for the most part, it's us, it's never the product. And all you have to do is just say to yourself, okay, you had enough rest, get up. And because if I don't get up right now, I'm going to miss out calling 5 people, which could lead me to 3 leads, which could lead me to 1 investor, which could lead to them creating the generational wealth for their family. So me slowing myself down is actually affecting everyone in my ecosystem. And that's how I get back up. Because when I am losing, who is really winning? And that's the question. When you lose, everyone in your ecosystem loses. But when you win, they win. So when you are in those situations, I think that could be something that could help. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you.
I think Ms. Jasmine.
All
had a
right, we
question.
have Jasmine.
Jasmine, did you find your Gucci bag?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. Super loud in here. So I have a comment and a question. The comment is, of course, I can relate a lot to you on the side of the immigrant. And one of the things that you said is like, and probably you hear it at RoadCon because we both were there. But he said like, if my parents made all these sacrifices and I come here and I don't do anything, like I just slack around, what was all that sacrifice that they made for? So, and now you just remind me of that when you say like, you know, I'm not honoring my parents. And that's something that, oh my gosh, it just stuck to me. Probably that was the biggest takeaway away of BroadCon for me. So I love that. And then the second question, of course, we all know that you are super good building connections and matching people. How do you build the relationships? You know, we all go to these events and we all are part of the same, I would say, network, but how do you build those relationships?
I feel that we all bring something unique to the space that we're in, either this virtual space or a physical space. I love people in general. I love strangers because to me it's like, it's not a matter of nice to meet you. To me it's always been a matter of nice to see you again. It was a matter of time before we met. And when I'm in presence of someone or somebody's, I always put myself into their shoes. And the more I get to know about them, the more I want to get to know them. Only because, for example, if I am in the presence of you, Jasmine, and then you say, this is who I am, this is where I came from, and I'm doing the land, and I'm from Mexico, and I'm already connecting with you because of the immigrant story. And I'm like, I want to get to know Jasmine because if she's here, she's here for many reasons, not just one reason. And this is why, to me, it's very important to build one connection at a time. And this is how I connect. I connect with one person at a time. And the way I do that is I either take their phone number, I follow on social media, we take a selfie, and I save it on my phone with a picture because there's no way we can remember everyone at first, who's who. And sometimes they reach out to me first, but for the most time, it's me reaching out to them. Very nice to meet you. And I feel like one of my strengths is that I lead with transparency in every conversation. if I say that I only know 2% of the answers, I say that with a lot of pride. I'm like, look, I am in this ecosystem for 2 years and I only know 2%, but guess what? I know where to get the other 98% of the answers. And they're like, oh. So when you become a solution for others, and when you let them know that you're just there because you also are them, like they are you, then you connect with people. I don't want to say through pain, because seriously, there's no pain. It's just blessings. And we are just getting stronger. Like, I am so grateful that I've had many sleepless nights. So connect with transparency, connect with the fact that you have to make it about them, just like they're making it about you, and get to know their birthdays, get to know their favorite color, get to know their favorite quote, joke a little bit with them, remember their smile, and why not remember their scent? Because when we hug, like, we're humans, we connect through that as well. And I know it may sound weird to some, but it's like, you know, we hug people, we touch people, and there's that instant connection. And then as women, we have that strong intuition. You'll know who your people are, because not everyone is going to be your person. And I would say that have very, very low expectations, but have very, very high standards. Because when you have low expectations, in every room you're going to go, even if you connect with 0 people, guess what? You just reconnected with yourself, the most important person in the room. So when you walk out of that room and you're walking together with yourself, you're walking out as a winner. But if you're walking out alone and you leave yourself inside that room because of envy and jealousy and comparison, oh my God, they're rich, I'm poor, they're on a jet, I'm economy. I don't even have a driver's license. I mean, I have a driver's license, I don't drive, but this person is driving this, I'm driving that. You've lost the war, not just battles. You've lost the war. So going there, be intentional, and have very high standards. Never lose yourself in the process. And for God's sake, text 3 to 5 people on a daily basis. I tell everyone, I cannot stress this enough. I tell everybody, I call it the 100-day SMS challenge. Grab your phone, start from the top to bottom or from the bottom top. I am a person that starts from the bottom up. I don't know why. So day 1, I texted 5 Zs. Days 2, I texted the other 5 Zs. Identifying myself, reconnecting with people, reinforcing relationships, nurturing relationships. And let me tell you, when I see these people in real life, you know how guilty they feel? They're like, you always remember my birthday. I never write you first. You always write me first. That is so good. And now when I call them about massive deals that we're raising for, they better freaking invest, because I remember their birthdays and I wish them for decades. I mean, that was a joke, but yes, you have to follow up. And not just follow up and ask for something, follow up and make it a point to ask how you can be of service to them. Because when you are of service to others, guess who gets served the most? You do. It always comes back to us, guys, just like magic. So Jasmine, for us, follow up in a way that we feel most comfortable. Know your friends, know how they like to be approached, and it's a journey. I can't possibly know if Cecilia is a texter or a phone caller because I don't know her that well. But I texted her and she responded and she smiled. I was like, oh my gosh, she's a texter. So then I continue to feed each other that love. Someone else that doesn't respond to my text, I'm going to pick up the phone, boom, they answer right away. I'm like, okay, let's make mental notes. And I know it sounds exhausting, but at the end of the day, if you can make one meaningful connection a day, that's like 365 connection a year. But when you connect with one person, you connecting with everyone in their ecosystem. Because I know Cecilia will trust me, all of her lady friends, to say, hey, you should reach out to Migena because she's working on something. But all I had to do is nurture Cecilia. So it's not really a lot of work. It really isn't, because you're working, I'm working, we all working, we connected with one person, and you come out of it with like 10,000 people at least, or 50,000 people. Because if Cecilia goes back to her phone and says, out of like the 2,500 contacts, 107,000, whatever number that is, are women, 1% of that could benefit from Migena's ecosystem. Boom. I just made myself 150 friends, and I did nothing about it other than loving Cecilia. And she does the same thing with me. And when I think of someone that could manage properties in Dallas, in Texas, I know that I'm going to funnel them all to Cecilia because she's that consultant, because she's that good. How do I know that? Because she has someone in her ecosystem who loves her. And that person tells me that. So that's where I'm going to go. And Daniel in New Jersey, he's like one of my #1 supporters. I know I have the entire ecosystem if I wanted to and if I needed it. So please, guys, please, I beg you, one relationship at a time, just one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's like, let's plant one tree at a time. Who planted 5 trees at the same time? You have 2 hands and you plant one tree, then another tree, then another tree, and then you have a forest. So I hope I answered that, Jasmine.
That was great. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for that, Migena. So right now we have Daniel. I can't pronounce your last name. I think it's Johnson. Sorry if I
Correct.
butchered it.
No, that's perfect. Thank
Uh,
you, Yashi and Sergio for hosting this. That's great. I am a huge Migena fan, supporter, cheerleader. She just touched my heart with her kindness, her story, her survival. Like every time she tells her story, I learned something new, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're incredible. Like it's every time I hear something, I'm like, wow, I can't believe you. But she was going to all these Grant Cardone events and other networking events, and I would always catch her on live, and I'm like, oh wow, because I have to vicariously live through other people's experiences just because I can't get out as much. But I was like going everywhere Migena was going because she was always streaming it live, and it was like I was there. So it was awesome experience just tagging along and being there. But yeah, I'm always thankful to connect with her and hear more of her story and what she does, because it's always something new or incredible. But I would like to add some value to the group. I am an inventor, and I know this is about real estate and things. So we all know that energy prices are going up, they're not going down. There's an estimate that air conditioners will quadruple in the amount of air conditioners we have by the year 2050. So utilities and prices are only going up and up and up. So there is a residential and as well as a business model structure that can save massive amounts of energy by constructing them after the one for big buildings is structuring them like a termite mound, like you're copying nature to make the building more efficient. And you guys can look this up. It's called Eastgate Center in Zimbabwe. It's been in existence since 1996, and it uses 35% less energy than a traditional establishment of the same size, because of being modeled after a termite mound, because it naturally regulates temperature by the way it's constructed and different materials it uses to absorb moisture. And there's a residential fix to this called Earth Ships. Earth Ships, you have to look them up. They provide all the basic needs of a human being with no connection to any outside utilities whatsoever.
Do you have a link, Daniel, that you can maybe share in our group so we can? Because I want to be.
Yeah, I'll definitely find one.
Yeah. So you can post in our WhatsApp groups, because I don't know how much time the guys have for us today. So, but I want to take advantage of your share, and yeah, for everyone who doesn't know Daniel, he's phenomenal, and he's in a wheelchair because he had a terrible accident, and he's here by miracle of God, and he believes in God, and he has a beautiful mind. But when he was saying that I took him everywhere I went, it's because he can't travel to events. And every time I would go live, then Daniel, I knew him very little at the time. We met at a workshop, at an online workshop. Daniel would say, thank you for going live, because I also have the opportunity to see through your eyes as you go into these places. And I was like, oh my God, I was starting to cry. I'm like, because guys, you think you're going out there and no one is watching. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you can influence one person, and if you can change someone's life for a quick second, because they may be the only thing they look forward to in a day or in a week, in a month, and sometimes even in a year, then it's a job well done. So yeah, that's Daniel for all of us. And please, Daniel, do share that. And thank you so much for your love. I am so appreciative of you.
Absolutely, Migena. I love you, and I support in everything you do.
Thank you.
Have a blessed night, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Of course.
Thank you so much for sharing, Daniel. And please do share your link so we can share it with the group. Cecilia, mi amor, you ready?
Yes, I am. Begin, I just want to tell you thank you. Thank you for providing the support to those around you. The amount of times that she's mentioned my name, you would think we've spent like years together, right? But we really haven't. We spent a few weeks or a few days together a couple of weeks ago, and we've seen each other a couple of times, been in a couple of group calls. But one of the things that I know you do is you empower women, empower the community and those around you. You know, I'm not leaving the guys out here, but the reality of it is we have a responsibility to empower those that come after us and show them how great things can be if they just believe in themselves. And you have the ability to do that. And you do that, I think at times you do it without even realizing it. You are a connector, you know, but it's a genuine connector. And that goes so far in people's hearts, because we can see, you know, look, we are where we are. We know the space. But when people are real, you know, that goes a long way, and goes further it goes further than the investors you seek or you know, money you raise. It's about creating those relationships long term, and then everything falls into place after that. So thank you for your kindness. Thank you for paving the way for these young ladies. I know you know, these things are from the heart and it's real. So keep doing what you're doing, and I look forward to our next book.
Oh my God, thank you, Cecilia. Thank you for seeing me. And I'm honored by your words, because you truly are a classy lady, and that's what comes to mind. Because we all have our keywords for people. Like, what comes to mind when you think of Cecilia? My class, like, she's just such a classy lady and pure love, and it really doesn't take a lot of time to know somebody, you guys. It's I always say it's the life in the years, it's not the years in the life. And we connected instantly through a book. We've hugged once before in the Michael Blanc, just to say nice to meet you. And then I realized, wait a second, you're in my book. You're like, yep. I was like, oh my God, you're Cecilia. And then we hung out for another 2 days. And I think that was good enough for us to say, all right, she's in, right? She's in my circle. So it doesn't take much. So don't overthink it. Don't overthink like, oh, I need to know someone for 5 years before you can make them a partner. Just follow with your what's important to me. Which boxes does Migena check? Because she may check a certain box that it's not really important to me. But if she's checking this box and that's important to me, I'll keep her. And if she doesn't, I'll still keep her, but it's going to be another layer or another level. And when you show up as your true self, it doesn't matter how many people you attract, because you want to make sure you attract yourself. Because when you go to bed with your thoughts and you are alone and you wonder, who did I hurt today? Where did I lose the temper? Who did I disrespect today? And you don't always have to do that directly in order for you to disrespect someone. So going back to Santos' question earlier, when I am procrastinating and I look around me and there's mail that's not opened, I think of my mother. I think of my dad living through communism. They ate maybe once a day and they only had like this much oil for the entire month because they gave you enough for as many people that lived in that household. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Just get up. You're disrespecting people right now with your behavior. And I'm right back up, because I have failed many times, but I am proud to announce that I have failed forward. As long as you fail forward, you're doing good. And when you have people like Cecilia who just meet you for once and get to truly read you and appreciate you, and then you say, wow, she said exactly who I am, because I also believe to be that person. And when those two feedbacks, the outsider and the insider, match and they're the same, that's like, oh, we did good today. Because when someone that's on the outside thinks and expresses something different than what you actually feel about yourself, now you have to go to work, because one of the two people is going to be wrong. And sometimes that person may be you, because you're not always right. So that's an invitation for you to correct yourself, to get better. So accept the compliments, but embrace the criticism.
That's amazing. I think you've inspired a lot of people. Now we're about to do something you're familiar. Before we end the recording tonight for the podcast, for all the platforms, for YouTube, we do like to do some breakout rooms so people can get more intimate. So we'll do that. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and close the call. And Migena, once again, thank you so much. I think you inspired a lot of individuals, a lot of women tonight, and even more bonds were built even more within our community. So for sure, thank you. And before we end the recording, I want you to give us 3 tips, 3 positive things that you want to give us to inspire us just to keep going.
Okay. So the first thing is, remind yourself that you matter, that you came into existence through spirit, through God, through whoever you believe that was the creator of you, that you matter, and you are on this earth with a big responsibility. And if you don't take full action to give your best every single day, then you are failing. So please remind yourself that you are awesome, that you are one of the chosen ones to be in existence and have the opportunity for others to get to know you. So never ever deprive others of your greatness. So always remind yourself in a daily basis, you're awesome. You did not open the mail yesterday. You procrastinated again, but you have tomorrow. So do that first and then go get the world. So that's tip number 1. Always love yourself. The second most important thing for me, never ever lose touch with your roots. And by that I mean, especially living in this country as immigrants, unfortunately, we're not connected to our families. We don't hug them every day. We don't even know half of our cousins' children's name, unfortunately. Take time, just like you reach out to someone you met at a networking event, because they may be your investor, they may be your author, they may be your business partner. Put time aside to reach out to your family. I don't care that you don't get along with them. I don't care that you didn't speak to them for 5 years, for 10 years. You need to stay in touch with your roots, because in America, it's very easy to lose touch of that. And I feel like that's food for the soul. And that's like fuel for us to continue to move in the world. Because at the end of the day, when someone asks me, what's your name, full name, I don't say Yoshi, I don't say Lopez, I don't say Johnston, I don't say Nkosi, I say Agaraj. Boom, wait, oh my God, I belong to the Agaraj family. I belong to the Agaraj tribe. Where are my cousins? I haven't checked on them. Let me check on them. Don't let social media be your messenger. So that's maybe a negative for many, because they'll say, well, I don't have that relationship with my family. But guess what? You make that relationship. You create the flexibility, you create the opportunity. So don't lose touch of your roots. Wherever you're from, be proud of who you are and be the better person. Maybe your parents are not getting along with somebody, but that's not you. You change that, because there's nothing more beautiful when you are in touch with your roots. And that's when you're the strongest. Because at the end of the day, when we all close our doors and we come inside of our own homes, Cecilia doesn't know if I have or if I don't have food on the table. And you won't hurt her as much. Regardless how awesome she is, she's not blood related to me. And there's something magical about blood. When you see your cousins that you haven't spoken to in a billion years, when you are in their presence, you just want to hug them. But then, of course, you're like, oh, I'm not going to hug them, because you want to act tough. But you don't want anything bad to happen to them. I mean, that's blood. So when you wake up every morning, make it a point to check on your family, distant or close. So that's the second thing that I recommend for everyone, because it's something that I do. So when I speak to you, I'm speaking to myself. And the third thing is build relationships. Build as many relationships as possible. You never know when you are going to need someone, and you never know who needs you. So when you build relationships, you are honoring yourself, you're honoring everyone else, and you are pretty much leading with heart. And that's where you actually are going to feel a more protected human being in this very big yet very small planet. So as I said earlier, focus on one relationship at a time, and just tell yourself that we are doing okay, but we can do better. Never be satisfied. Never be satisfied with yourself. And it's okay to be tough on yourself. So yeah, those would be 3 things without even thinking, because I don't have these questions ahead of time, which I so love, because I can never prepare for them.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Migena, once again.